So today we are focusing on the performance flow framework. So this will help you to stay in momentum without burning out. So we are looking at mastering your energy with your performance. So what we notice with a lot of people, we've got full schedules, we've got a mix of energy, and we've got big goals. So we want to be able to manage the things that need to be done with the energy that we have to do them. So we don't want to be in the high gear all of the time. High performance is not about being in a high gear. It's about knowing when to push, when to pace, when to pause, and how to keep that momentum going over a long period of time. So you speak to any high performers, whether it's athletes, whether it's in business, whether it's in professional careers and leadership, people know when to speed up, when to slow down. So certainly if I go back to my competing days, you would have a peak week where you would be lifting at your heaviest, and you would have a rest and deload week the week of the competition. You knew that rest was just as important as pushing yourself through your training plan. And this uses the same technique. It uses the same principles to help you. So whether you've got changing energy levels, whether you are managing your health and well-being, whether you're managing conflicting priorities, the outcome is still the same. You can't always guarantee the time and energy that you've got for the things that you want to be able to do. So this is where the performance flow framework can really help. So what is the performance flow framework? So it's an energy-based output model that is designed by me to help you to build that consistency and sustainable progress without burning out. So we've got 3 phases. Think of it like lanes on a motorway. Okay, so, and I mean how we're supposed to drive on the motorway, not how some people drive on the motorway. So you've got sustain. So this is your lane 1. So this is your bare minimum. This is the least you need to do, or the least that you know you can do on the days where you're incredibly busy, lots of unexpected things happen, or perhaps, if you have a chronic illness and you struggle with fatigue, these are the days where you really can't do very much at all. So this is your bare minimum mode, the non-negotiables that keep everything going when energy is low, time is tight, or life is throwing curveballs at you. So this isn't about thriving, this is about surviving, but strategically. You plan for sustain so that when the unexpected happens, you are still able to show up, you are still able to get things done, and you are still able to do the bare minimum that is going to keep things moving forward. Okay, so that's lane 1, sustain. Lane 2 is maintain. So this is your ideal pace. This is the version where it's your average day. So it's the day that if you had to repeat this for the 365 days of the year, it would be easy enough to keep going. You would be easy enough to show up in this way every day. If every day looked like this, you'd feel consistent, it would feel steady, you would feel in control. Maintain is where your habits live. Structure works and momentum builds. Okay, so this is your average day that if you could repeat this 365 times over, you would be able to make really good progress, and you would be able to keep that up and keep that going and show up for that level. The 3rd lane is accelerate. So this is your boost mode. This is where you've got more time, more energy, and you want to power things forward. This is by choice. You don't live here, you don't stay in this lane, but you use this intentionally to make the most of opportunities and fast track your results. So with any good driver, you know when to speed up, when to slow down, and you also need to know when to pull into that service station, take rest breaks, and refuel. You do not want to be driving on the motorway with a red light showing that you're running out of petrol. You don't want to push yourself to the point where you are out of fuel. You don't want to push yourself where you're sleeping at the wheel. We know that rest and strategic breaks are really important. So we don't want to be in the third lane all of the time. That is definitely not sustainable. We want to be in the middle lane as much as possible to be able to keep moving, but we also don't want to be a middle lane driver. We don't want to be a middle lane hogger. We want to be planning to be in that first lane so that we know we can show up and follow the plan that we've made, but there will be times where we need to move into the second lane and we can move into the third lane to get that little bit of extra distance in the journey that we're on. Okay, so here are your 5 tips to use this framework and make it work for you. So firstly, know what each lane looks like for you. Get clear on what sustain, maintain, and accelerate look like for you, not for anyone else, for you, for your life with your commitments and your work in the way that your work is. Define it in practical terms, not just theory. Look at the last couple of months. What did you try and do, and what did you actually end up doing? Because this needs to be reality. You need to plan for the minimum. You need to have your ideal, and then you have your stretch goals. So you want to plan. If you are planning 3 months in advance, if you're planning for the quarter, then you want to make sure you are planning for sustain mode with maintain in mind. And then you've got that little list of things that you can do where you can accelerate and boost things forward. And you might have some days or weeks where you can see where you can accelerate, but you always plan for sustain so that you know that if you show up and do the bare minimum, you will get to where you want to get to in the time that you want to get there. And then you use maintain to be able to balance that out, and you use accelerate when you can. So plan your week with all 3 in mind. Tip number 2. Most people plan for accelerate and then feel guilty when they end up in the first lane. So flip it over. Plan for the first lane and see that third lane as a bonus. So map everything to the level of sustain, plan everything for that first lane, and you will always then have that fallback. You will always be able to show up with a bare minimum. And if for some reason you cannot show up for that bare minimum, it's not going to take you too off track, because you could probably do a day or 2 at maintain, and that will pick it back up and put you on where you need to be. So start by mapping in your sustain lane, so then you can build the maintenance as that core rhythm, and accelerate is the bonus. It is not the baseline. So use the maintain, use that middle lane. It's kind of your North Star. That's your target pace. That's where you ideally want to be, where you can be consistent, where you can be confident that you can show up in that way, where you know that you're going to be making that progress. But you want to make sure that that is the ideal. You're not planning for it. It's what you're aiming for. So there's always that little bit extra. And you are certainly not trying to measure yourself against being in that third lane all of the time. You want to build a life, build your business, build your work that fits in that maintenance level, in that second lane, to be able to keep you to moving forward. But you always plan for the first lane. So you want to know when to switch lanes. Burnout happens when you stay in accelerate for too long. And frustration comes from getting stuck in sustain when it doesn't feel like you have a plan. So if you feel like you're going too slow and you don't have a plan, then it's very easy to feel stuck, to feel frustrated, to feel like you should be moving further forward. But if you know your plan is written for sustain, you know that actually going into that maintain lane will not only keep the progress going, but it's going to give you that little bit of a booster. And you know that if the opportunity comes up to move into the accelerate lane, then you know that you're going to give it a real boost to accelerate that progress. But know when to switch lanes. Switching lanes, and the element of you being able to control this is knowing when to switch and being intentional about how you do that and when you do that. So finally, 5th tip to be able to implement this is schedule your refueling stops. Rest is a strategy. Your breaks aren't a reward. Okay, the breaks don't come as a reward for pushing yourself to the limit, and breaks don't come at the point of burnout. They are a requirement. They are part of the plan. So, just like if you were planning for a long journey, don't wait to run on empty or wait until the lights are coming on and the warning lights are going on to just think that you need to stop, to cool down, to refuel, and to have that time to rest and recover. You build in that capacity to have rest and recovery and reset before you need it. It is part of your contingency plan, especially if you know that you have personal circumstances that mean you need to build in that rest. Now, that will mean what it means to you. But I know from a lot of people that I've worked with, they know they need more rest and recovery time than others. And that's okay. This is not about building a plan that works for everybody. This is about building a plan that works for you, creating a blueprint that works for you. Okay, so something for you to take away and reflect on. If your week was a motorway, if you think about this week, if your week was a motorway, which lane have you been driving in? Have you been in the first, second, or third? Have you been working at sustain, maintain, or accelerate? And is that working for you? Or do you need to do things differently to be able to keep going where you're going in the time scale, time frames that you want to be moving in? So do you need to be moving in sustain, maintain, or accelerate? Or do you need to look at how you can adjust the plan so that you are working it across all three lanes as and when you need to? Let me know in the comments. I would love to know what you have been doing and what you feel you need to be doing as a result of watching this. I would love to hear from you, to hear what your thoughts are.